The young and the restless spoilers shock Jack's accident and the unraveling truth. The Newman and Abbott families in crisis. Genoa City is no stranger to drama, but the latest twist involving Jack Abbott, Michael Baldwin, and Victor Newman has taken things to an entirely new level. What began as a routine meeting between two powerful men, each plotting against Victor, has spiraled into a life-altering crisis for the Abbott family. The fallout from Jack's accident is about to expose deep-seated secrets, testing the limits of loyalty and family bonds. The meeting and Victor's growing threat. Michael Baldwin and Jack Abbott, both seasoned players in the high-stakes world of business and family politics, have always known that Victor Newman is a dangerous adversary. Victor's ruthlessness is legendary, and both men have long harbored the desire to see him fall, whether by prison bars or worse. Their meeting, which began as a strategic discussion about how to take down Victor, was charged with tension. Victor's grip on his family and empire was too strong, and they both knew that their paths might cross again in a way that could cost them everything. They plotted, talked, and considered all possible avenues of attack. But neither of them could have anticipated that their plan would soon be overshadowed by an event that would shake their families to the core. The accident. Jack's close call. As fate would have it, Jack's life would take an unexpected turn. On a dark and rainy night, while grappling with the stress of his ongoing battle with Victor and the personal conflict between his family and business, Jack was involved in a devastating car accident. His vehicle collided with an illegally parked car, and although he survived, the crash left him in critical condition. Emergency responders rushed him to the hospital, and it was immediately clear that Jack's injuries were severe. He needed a large quantity of blood to survive, and the hospital staff began the process of preparing for a transfusion. Kyle's arrival, a son's desire to help. When Kyle received the news about his father's accident, his heart sank. Without hesitation, he rushed to the hospital, determined to do whatever he could to help. The tension between Kyle and Jack had been palpable for years, but in this moment, Kyle put aside the family drama and focused solely on the well-being of the man who had been his father, even if their relationship had been complicated. Kyle was ready to step up and donate the blood needed to save Jack's life. After all, despite the family tension and the complicated history, Jack was still his father in his heart. Kyle's willingness to help without question demonstrated the unspoken bond between father and son, even if it wasn't always a smooth relationship. The shocking discovery, a family secret exposed, but the blood transfusion process didn't go as planned. In a twist that no one saw coming, a routine medical test revealed something shocking. The blood tests showed that Kyle was not a match for Jack, not just in terms of blood type, but also genetically. The results confirmed something that no one had suspected: Kyle was not Jack's biological son. The truth about their relationship, which had been kept hidden for years, was now out in the open. The revelation hit like a bombshell, and the atmosphere in the hospital room grew cold and tense. Kyle, standing by his father's bedside, looked at the doctor in disbelief. The gravity of the moment weighed heavily on him. He had always believed Jack to be his father, both in blood and in spirit, but now that belief was shattered. How could this be true? How could the man who had raised him, guided him, and loved him, not be his biological father? Diane's reaction. The truth comes to light. Standing in the corner of the room, Diane Jenkins, Jack's ex-wife, watched the unfolding scene with a mixture of shock and resignation. Her face crumpled as she covered her face with her hands, her tears flowing freely. She had known this truth all along, and yet it seemed to hurt just as much to see it exposed. Diane had kept the secret from Jack, from Kyle, and from the rest of the family for years, but now it was impossible to deny any longer. Diane, although devastated by the truth coming to light, wasn't entirely shocked. She had always known that Jack and Kyle's paternity was a complex and tangled issue, and now, the burden of that secret was finally being revealed. Diane's pain wasn't just about the secret itself, it was about the hurt and confusion it would cause for Kyle, for Jack, and for the entire Abbott family. This was a truth that no one had been prepared for, and the repercussions of this revelation were going to be far-reaching. As the room fell silent, Diane approached Kyle cautiously. Her voice was soft, but filled with the weight of the situation. "Kyle, you need to stay calm," she said, trying to comfort him. "I know this is hard, but there's more to the story than you think. I will explain everything, I promise." Kyle, still reeling from the shock, turned to Diane with a mix of confusion and anger. "How long did you know about this, Mom? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't anyone tell me?" His voice cracked, his emotions spilling over in a mixture of hurt and betrayal. Diane's eyes filled with tears as she placed a hand on Kyle's shoulder. "I never wanted to hurt you, Kyle," she whispered. "But now that you know, we can't go back. We need to face the truth, together. I'll help you understand what happened. But for now, you need to stay strong, for Jack, for yourself. I'll explain everything soon. But right now, you need to focus on helping your father." Kyle nodded slowly, though the weight of the secret still hung heavy on his shoulders. His mind was a whirlwind of emotions, anger, confusion, and a deep sense of betrayal. But in that moment, there was one thing he knew for sure. He couldn't walk away from this. His relationship with Jack might have been built on shaky ground, but it had always been there. He needed to be there for his father now more than ever. The aftermath: what will Victor do next? With the paternity secret exposed and Jack fighting for his life, the focus shifts to Victor. How will he react to this revelation? What role will he play in the aftermath of this shocking news? As the patriarch of the Newman family, Victor is never one to stay out of the family drama for long. He's already been dealing with the tension surrounding Kyle and Claire, and now, the Abbott family dynamics are in disarray. Victor's response will likely be one of calculated control. He may use this revelation to further manipulate the situation to his advantage, or he might seize this moment to strengthen his hold on his children. Whatever his next move is, one thing is certain. The fallout from this bombshell will only deepen the rift between the Newman and Abbott families. As Kyle grapples with this new reality, the next chapter of his life is uncertain. How will he navigate his relationship with Jack, knowing that the man who raised him is not his biological father? And how will this revelation affect his relationships with the other Abbotts and Newmans? The truth has been exposed, and the emotional aftermath will shape the future of these families in ways they could never have predicted. As Jack Abbott lies unconscious in the hospital, struggling for his life after a severe car accident, the urgency of the situation reaches a breaking point. The family is in crisis, and the pressure to save Jack's life is at an all-time high. The need for a blood transfusion has become critical, and there is only one person left in Genoa City who shares a compatible blood type: Billy Abbott, Jack's younger brother. Billy, despite the deep familial tension that has simmered between him and Jack over the years, is the only hope to save his brother. As Billy steps forward to donate his blood, he knows the significance of the moment. His actions, though selfless, are not without emotional cost. Billy is aware of the strained relationship he shares with Jack, but he doesn't hesitate. The stakes are too high for anything else. The shocking revelation, Jack's family secret. Despite the immediate concern over Jack's health, the truth about his paternity looms over everything. Kyle Abbott, standing at the crossroads of this family drama, is hit with the shock of a lifetime. He is not Jack's biological son. The truth, which had been hidden for years, is now impossible to ignore, and it changes everything Kyle thought he knew about his identity and his relationship with Jack. For Jack, should he regain consciousness and learn of the blood relation to Billy, the emotional weight of this revelation would be immense. His sense of betrayal would be palpable, and the notion that he had been deceived into raising a child who wasn't his own could feel like the ultimate violation. Jack has spent years caring for Kyle, treating him like a son, but knowing the truth now would cut him deeply. The pain of learning that his own wife, Diane, had cheated on him, and that he had been unknowingly raising a child who wasn't biologically his, would feel like a deep wound. Jack might feel as though his entire sense of family has been turned upside down. The idea that Diane, someone he trusted and loved, could betray him so profoundly would shatter his perception of her and their relationship. The realization that he had been tricked into raising Kyle as his son would feel like a betrayal on a level he hadn't imagined possible. For Jack, this situation is not just about the shock of the paternity test, it's about the years of emotional investment in a child he believed to be his own. And now, with his life on the line, the truth feels even more agonizing. Diane's role, facing the consequences of her actions as Diane stands by Jack's hospital bed, watching Billy donate blood and praying for Jack's recovery, she knows that the truth is unavoidable. Her deception has now been exposed in the most painful way possible, and she can no longer hide from the consequences of her actions. Diane has always been a woman of secrets, but this secret is one that has shaken the very foundation of her family. Diane knows how badly Jack will feel when he learns the truth about Kyle's paternity. She understands the depth of the betrayal and the pain Jack will experience when he realizes that his years of dedication to a child who wasn't his own were built on a lie. But Diane is also aware that she can't undo what's been done. She has to face the truth, no matter how hard it may be. And then there's Kyle, her son, who is caught in the middle of this mess. Diane can see the hurt in his eyes, the confusion, the disbelief. She knows that he is struggling with the weight of this revelation, and she has to find a way to explain it to him. But how does one explain something so devastating? How does a mother tell her son that his father, the man he loved and respected, was never truly his father? Diane takes a deep breath, knowing that this is the moment she must confront Kyle and the truth. As she sits down beside him, she sees the pain etched on his face. "Kyle," Diane says softly, her voice shaky, "I know you're hurt. But you have to understand. I never wanted you to find out like this. I never wanted this to happen." Kyle, his face a mixture of anger and confusion, looks at her with eyes full of betrayal. "Why didn't you tell me, Mom?" he asks, his voice low. "Why didn't you tell me the truth about Jack? Why didn't you ever tell me that he wasn't my father?" Diane takes a deep breath, knowing this is the moment she must explain. "Kyle, I wanted to protect you. I never wanted you to feel like you weren't part of this family. And I never wanted Jack to feel like he was deceived. But the truth is, Jack never knew. He loved you as his son, just as I loved you, and I didn't want to take that away from you." Kyle shakes his head, his emotions running high. "You should have told me," he says, his voice cracking. "This changes everything. This changes who I am, who I thought I was." Diane reaches out, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I know, sweetheart. I know. But I promise you, this doesn't change how much I love you. And it doesn't change how much Jack loved you either. You're his son in every way that matters." Kyle pulls away from her, the hurt in his eyes undeniable. "But I'm not. I'm not his son. I'm not even his blood. Everything I thought I knew is a lie." Diane looks at him, her own eyes filled with tears. "I know this is hard, Kyle. But please understand, this was never about hurting you. It was about giving you a family, a home. Jack loved you, and he always will." As the conversation ends, Kyle walks away, unsure of what to feel. The bond he thought he had with Jack is shattered, and the truth of his origins is now a weight he must carry. Diane, left alone in the aftermath of the revelation, knows that her actions have irreparably changed her relationship with both Jack and Kyle. She will have to live with the consequences of her betrayal, and the question remains, will Jack ever be able to forgive her, or will this mark the end of their family? For now, the focus remains on Jack's survival. With Billy's sacrifice to save Jack's life, the Abbott family is holding on by a thread. As Jack continues to fight for his life, the family dynamics will be forever altered, and the long road ahead will require everyone to come to terms with the truth. But as the truth continues to unravel, one thing is certain, this is only the beginning of a much larger crisis for the Abbott and Newman families. Chelsea Lawson stands at a crucial juncture in her career, and the pressure of making the right decision is weighing heavily on her. With Adam's tempting offer to join Newman Media as the chief operating officer still on the table, Chelsea is grappling with the idea of leaving behind her role at Marchetti, where she spent years building her career. But as she seeks advice and considers her options, she finds herself in a complicated position, especially when it comes to her relationships with Summer and Sally. Adam's growing hope, Adam Newman, ever the strategist, has been keeping an eye on Chelsea's movements. He's aware that she's been consulting with Lauren Fenmore, which only fuels his hope that she is seriously considering his offer. Adam has long seen potential in Chelsea, not just as a business partner, but as someone who could help him solidify his position at Newman Media. He knows that if Chelsea joins him, it would strengthen his efforts to dominate the media landscape, and the idea of having her by his side excites him. However, as much as Adam desires to have Chelsea join his team, he's also aware of the delicate situation she's in. He knows that Chelsea's decision will have far-reaching implications, not just for her career but also for her relationships with people she cares about. Adam is hopeful, but there's always the underlying tension of knowing that Chelsea's decision is tied to her own sense of independence and loyalty. Lauren's conversation with Chelsea. Navigating the hard decision after speaking with Adam, Chelsea finally sits down with Lauren, seeking her guidance on what she should do. Lauren, ever the voice of reason, listens carefully as Chelsea lays out her dilemma. Chelsea admits that she's seriously considering leaving Marchetti to join Newman Media. The role Adam has offered is too big to ignore, and the prospect of stepping into a high-ranking position at one of the most powerful media companies in Genoa City is enticing. Lauren, though supportive, makes sure to point out the emotional and professional costs of such a decision. It's a huge leap, Chelsea, Lauren cautions. You'll be leaving behind everything you've built at Marchetti. It's a step forward in your career, but you'll be leaving behind your team, your stability. Have you really thought about all the ramifications? Chelsea nods, understanding the weight of Lauren's words. I know it's a big decision, Lauren. But I can't help but feel like this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I've worked so hard to get here, and I don't want to pass it up. But even as Chelsea is tempted by the offer, she is troubled by the thought of leaving Summer in a difficult position. Summer has been a close friend and colleague, and the prospect of losing both Chelsea and Sally from Marchetti would leave her struggling to maintain the company's balance. Chelsea doesn't want to leave Summer to deal with the fallout alone. The dilemma with Sally, who will lead Marchetti Z? Chelsea's mind shifts to Sally Spectra, another important piece of the puzzle. With Sally and Chelsea being close friends and business partners, Chelsea wonders whether Sally could step up to fill her shoes as the head of the creative team at Marchetti, particularly for the Marchetti Z line. Would Sally be able to handle the creative director role while still working for Marchetti Z? Chelsea asks Lauren, uncertainty in her voice. Lauren sighs, knowing that the answer isn't simple. Sally is talented, but running Marchetti Z is a massive responsibility. It's not just about the creative side of things, it's about leading the team, maintaining the brand's image, and ensuring everything runs smoothly. If Sally were to take on this role, she'd be stretched thin. It's a big commitment, and it would take everything she has. Chelsea is concerned about Sally's ability to juggle the workload while keeping the business running smoothly. Sally has a lot of potential, but there's always the risk that she could buckle under the pressure, especially with so much riding on her shoulders. Still, Chelsea is hesitant to completely step away from her responsibilities, knowing that her exit would leave Sally with even more weight to carry. Lauren's advice. Talk to Sally before Summer. Lauren, ever pragmatic, advises Chelsea to have a conversation with Sally before making any decisions. You need to talk to Sally first, Chelsea. You're both in this together, and you have to be upfront with her about your plans. If you decide to leave, Sally needs to know what her role could be in all of this. Chelsea agrees but is still unsure about how to approach the conversation. She's afraid that discussing her potential departure with Sally will cause unnecessary tension between them. After all, Sally might feel left behind or betrayed, and Chelsea doesn't want to create a rift in their friendship. She knows how difficult it will be to make this transition, but she also knows that honesty is the only way forward. "I don't want to make things awkward between us," Chelsea admits. "Sally has been a great partner, and I don't want her to feel like I'm abandoning her." Lauren gives Chelsea a knowing look. "You need to put your career first, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice your relationships. If you're honest with Sally about your decision and give her the opportunity to step up, it'll give her the chance to decide what she wants to do. She'll respect you for being transparent." The fear of the unknown. What will Summer think? Chelsea also knows that her decision will affect Summer, who has become more than just a colleague, she's a friend. The thought of leaving Marchetti at a time when Summer is struggling with her own professional challenges makes Chelsea uneasy. Summer has always been a loyal and supportive friend, and Chelsea doesn't want to leave her high and dry. Yet, no matter how difficult the conversation with Summer might be, Chelsea knows she can't make her decision based on what Summer might want. She needs to follow her own instincts, even if it means potentially upsetting those she cares about. The road ahead. What will Chelsea choose?